To find out. Nazareth, a small town. And everybody in town assumes the obvious. And who got her while she was going to Bethlehem and back, perhaps? Or what crowd was she running in when she was gone those months? Or, come on, Joseph. It's like the dog ate my homework. Come on. An angel talked to you? I mean, come on. Most of the people in town, right? You can imagine. And so it's very convenient for them to come down here for the birth where people don't know. And maybe they can be absorbed back into real family in a safe and helping and protecting and providing environment. It's very convenient for them to come down here. There's a picture, a very famous picture of a Bethlehem bride, all decked out in her finery, taken about 100 years ago. There's a color version, I have the black and white one. A Bethlehem bride. I like to think of this bride as the age of Mary. And what I want on her wedding day, being married to certainly somebody older. And I want you to tell me what her emotion is. Can you see it well enough?
Apprehension.
A little bit scared. Yeah, a little bit scared. Yep, this one is. And we have all these wonderful hymns in Luke chapter 1. About, let it be unto me your handmaid and all this stuff. And I just wonder, kind of between the lines, like between midnight and 2 o'clock when she's not singing that song, what she's thinking about. This Mary coming down here and all. And I think that we talk about her being, the unwed mother and all this stuff, but it's pretty tough in this environment. It's pretty tough, especially for the rest of her life. The stigma is there. It'll never leave her, ever. Leave her. I suppose once she gets the halo on in the icons, maybe it has, but it'll never leave. Never leave her. Or Jesus being the son of. Yeah. I wonder how that informs some of the conversations they're going to have later on up in Galilee that we'll get to the end of the week up in the Galilee. So convenient down here for her. And they stay, after the birth. Well, they run out because of Herod killing the babies. They go to Egypt as refugees, actually. And they come back to Bethlehem. It's like no intent to go back to Nazareth until they found out that Archelaus, the son of Herod the Great, who's a bit more wacky than his father, so then they go back up to Nazareth. Maybe they hope everybody's forgotten back there. I don't know, but it's tough stuff. All right, that's 1/3. Now the stable and then the shepherds. How are you holding up with heat? Are you okay? Can you manage another one? Can you? Otherwise, let's do one more and then we can go up here. Try to catch some rays. How would that be? Think about the... Yes.
I do have a question
Yeah.
about Joseph. Our
Yeah.
ladies in the Bible study group
Yeah.
is going through the book, The Journey. The author's name is escaping me right now. But in that book, it suggests that actually Joseph is a teenager.
He could be.
And they're going through
He
a
could
lot
be.
of different sources, but the conclusion there was that maybe he wasn't.
He could be.
older with-
No.
I
I would...
wanted your comment on that.
The Catholic tradition has them that way so that Jesus can have
Have brothers.
brothers in the text. Although then they would all be quite a bit older than him, I guess. The brothers would be. Typically, like in the West, I guess the traditional thing is for that have the man a little older. That typically still happens in the West, I think. Here it does even more so. At least the current way among the Arabs is that the guy needs to be well enough established to be able to afford her, for her father to let her go. So a little older, already is working, already maybe has bought a house, things like that. That puts him maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe a decade older, actually. Maybe, but there's no way to, in this case, we don't know. no way to know in this case. That would have been tough, and that would maybe push him to be older. Also, the fact that he doesn't show up after the birth suggests that maybe he is older and has died. You see, by the time Jesus is growing up, by the time he's coming down when he's 12 to Jerusalem, but when Jesus is an adult, you have Mary, but not Joseph. So he might have been older as well. Maybe he got cancer or had an industrial accident. You don't know. You don't know. You know, whacking that stuff, right? You don't know. You don't know. Look, here's a question of method. All right, a question of method. Honestly, we know less than what we really know. And much of what we're told is actually in the realm of speculation, or wouldn't it be nice if, to be quite honest, as we reconstruct things. That's just the way it is. As full as the Bible is, it's not all the information. It assumes certain things. It assumes that we know things about the land. That's why you come to learn it. It assumes that you know something about the culture, which is why we try to become more immersed in the ancient Middle East and all of this stuff. But what that allows us to do then is to create speculations that are at least grounded in what's possible. All right? At least what's possible. Maybe we don't know, but at least this is a pattern that fits the first century. At least we can do that. And that's sort of what I'm trying to do with all of you. I was criticized in print in a book review. Somebody took exception with some of my interpretations. Their punchline at the end of the review was, "I've spent too much time in the Middle East." and I didn't respond, but my response would be, as opposed to what? Western Pennsylvania like you? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. So you're a bit allowed. You're a bit allowed. But what it means is we need to cast a wide net. As much data, as much immersion as we can, to see what kinds of things start to pattern out. And actually, there's not enough data to say how old Joseph was, because you can find enough case studies that make sense. That Mary's eyes look like this, I think we could guess that. I think so. We have more data for the stable, actually. For the stable. The picture of it being a separate building in the back 40 somewhere doesn't work. It doesn't work. Almost certainly, like 99.9%, it's a room in the house with everybody else. It's a room in the house with everybody else. We know that from archaeology. We know that from anthropological perspective. We know that a room, the animals provide warmth in the wintertime. When they're the heat. They are your resource. You don't take your bank account, cash it into gold, and spread it out on the field, right? You keep it with you. This is your bank account. And that it would be close. And we have this. We have buildings from the first century. Foundation remains. We have buildings from the Iron Age, the Old Testament. And we have still standing houses among the villages where that happens. Right in. The animals on the lower level, if it's a multi-story house, where the heat goes up, then they can just kind of graze out and come back in again, and the people live up above. The people up. More than that, the language in the Gospel of Luke, that there was no room in the inn. There was no room in the inn. This is an unfortunate English translation. There were inns for pay in the first century and in the Roman world. The parable of the Good Samaritan, where the Samaritan finds the guy all beat up and brings him to an inn and pays money to take care. There were such institutions. But the word in Luke is not that word. The word in Luke, kataluma, means guest room. A guest room, every house had one. Every house has public space and private space. Your house has public space and private space. Where people off the street who you don't know, you'll only take them in certain rooms, but not other ones, probably. And your grandkids, they can go all the way in, right? You know, and certainly in the ancient Near East, including the modern Near East. And the kataluma was the public room up front, where people traveling would stay, or public things would happen, reconciliation between two families where the fathers would get together, you see, and work out an agreement, or the